Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. For this video presentation, we would like to present about a survey for UiTM Perlis students about online distance learning ODL. The contents of this presentation include introduction, methodology, and lastly, data analysis and results. This is my group members, which includes me, Nur Nadira Izani, Nur Narina, Fatin Aina, and Nur Aina Atira.
First and foremost, the topic chosen for this survey is online distance learning, ODL. As the country faces the COVID-19 outbreak in 2019, the way of life of the community has completely changed. The spread of this epidemic has led to the World Health Organization, WHO, has recommended that the community limit face-to-face interaction with each other in order to control and reduce the rate of spread of this virus. The Malaysian government has implemented a movement control order, MCO, and this action has a huge impact, especially on the education system. Teaching that used to be from classroom and lecture halls has turned to online learning through platforms such as Google Meet, Microsoft Teams, Zoom, and so on. Online learning requires instructors and students to have devices such as laptops, computers, telephone, and even internet networks to interact in the teachings and learning process. Among the purpose of choosing online distance learning as the title for this survey is to see the effectiveness of online distance learning to students. Apart from that, another purpose is to see if all students in Malaysia can use the online application well during the ODL. In this survey, there are 50 questions related to online distance learning, involving students from UiTM Arau. A sample survey entails selecting a sample of a population and questioning them on a series of subjects. We classify the data we gather as a primary because we obtain it directly from the people rather than via third parties. Finally, our groups gets answer and feedback from students about online distance learning using Google Form platform. Okay, in this slide, I will explain about the objective of this study. The objective of a survey for UiTM Perlis students about online distance learning is stated as follows. First, to find out whether students are ready or not for ODL classes. Second, to identify the level of barriers faced by students during ODL. And third, to know the level of effectiveness of online distance learning. Okay, next, I will explain about the description of data. The population is all students of UiTM Arau Perlis. Sample size is 56 students of UiTM Arau Perlis. And sampling technique used in this survey is stratified sampling technique. The population is divided into subgroup called strata. Strata are subgroups that are internally homogeneous and heterogeneous with other strata. Strata from this survey was the faculty of UiTM Arau Perlis. There were students from 6 faculties involved in this survey. Okay, this is the stratified sampling diagram. For this diagram, we can see that strata was the 6th faculty of UiTM Arau, and each strata was divided into 3 samples, which is pro-diploma, diploma, and degree students.
Next, we look at the data collection method. For data collection method, the questionnaire were distributed to all 56 students who have been randomly chosen. The respondents are the students from different faculties in UiTM Perlis. After they have completed answering the questionnaire, the data was immediately collected. The response rate was 100%. It took a few days for at least 50 respondents to complete all the questionnaire. There are 20 questions which are represent qualitative and quantitative variables. Then the method of analysis. The method that we use is online survey to collect all the data. We create a Google form consists of the question related to our topics. The way we distribute the survey is via WhatsApp among the UiTM campus Perlis students. The form consists of 1 part and 3 sections. Part A is about the respondent background such as their gender, education level, faculty and their semester. Then section 1 is all about the question on student readiness to face ODL classes. Section 2 is about the level of barriers faced by students during the ODL classes. Then the last one is section 3 is about the effectiveness of the ODL class. The Google form was open to accept the response for 1 week.
Next, I will explain about data analysis and results. Here are the gender and education level of the respondents. Figure 1 shows the numbers of students who respond to the questionnaires. The number of male respondents is 26 students and the number of female respondents is 30 students. The majority of those who answered to these questions were female. Next, figure 2 shows the numbers of students who responded from 3 education levels, namely pre-diploma, diploma, and degree. Diploma students recorded the highest number of 48 students, followed by 7 degree students and 1 from pre-diploma. Figure 3 shows pie chart age of the respondents. It indicates that 82% of the students who answered the survey were between the age of 18 and 20, while 80% were between the age of 21 and 23. There were no responses from students aged 24 and above. To conclude, students aged 18 to 20 years had the highest number of respondents. Mean of this grouped data is 19.63, means that on the average, students through the survey is between 18 or 20 years old. Median of 19.33 means that the median age of students through the survey is 19 years old. Next, the mode of this collected data is 19.18. This means that most students through this survey is 19 years old. The square division of each age from the mean is 1.83 unit square, and age of students who answer the survey differs from the mean by 1.35. Lastly, shape of distribution for this data is skewed to the right. Figure 4 shows the number of students who responded to the questions based on the faculties. This survey was completed by 37 students from the Faculty of Plantation and Agrotechnology, followed by 6 students from the Faculty of Sports Science and Recreation, and 6 students from the Faculty of Architecture, Planning and Surveying. The Faculty of Applied Science had the fewest students answer with 4, while the Faculty of Computer and Mathematical Sciences had 3. To conclude, the majority of responses are from the Faculty of Plantation and Agrotechnology. Next, Figure 5 shows the number of students who responded to the survey according to Semester 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. A total of 35 students from Semester 4 responded, whereas 18 students from Semester 2 responded. Students from Semester 1, 5 and 6 recorded the same numbers of students, namely 1. In Semester 3, no student responded. Figure 6 shows 64.3% of the total 56 respondents have a device that works well during ODL, while 5.4% do not have such a device. 17 students have access to ODL devices, but it does not always work properly. Based on the pie chart, there are also a number of students who still do not have a device to use during online distance learning ODL, possibly due to a lack of finances to purchase the device. Next, Figure 7 shows the number of students who use 4 different types of devices during ODL, such as laptops, desktop, smartphones, and tablets. During the ODL class, 45 students use laptops, whereas just 7 students use smartphones. Desktop and tablets have 1 and 3 students respectively. According to the bar chart, many students use laptop during ODL class because it had advantages such as a larger screen, the ability to use Microsoft Excel or Microsoft Word during the class time, and the ability to conveniently browse references materials. Figure 8 shows the average amount of time students at UiTM Perlis spend on their ODL class. The majority of students spend 3 to 4 hours each day in an ODL class. The majority of students spend 3 to 4 hours each day in ODL class. This indicates that the students' concentration during is not longer than 4 hours. Mean of this grouped data is 4.25, means that on the average, each student spend an average time of 4.25 hours during ODL class. Median of 4.06 means that during ODL classes, 50% of students spend less than 4.06 hours and 50% spend more than 4.06 hours. Next, the mode of this collected data is 3.79. This means that most students spend 3.79 hours on ODL class. The square division of each hours from the mean is 2.84 units square, and the hours spent by each student differs from the mean by 1.69 hours. Lastly, shape of distribution for this data is skewed to the right. Figure 9 shows student responses to questions about their concentration while taking online classes. The bar chart above illustrates that out of 56 respondents, the majority of students at UiTM Perlis are sometimes concentrate during the ODL class. This might be due to a variety of reasons, including the occurrence of slow internet problems or the laziness of students themselves. Following that, 2 respondents were not concentrated, whereas 10 others were always concentrated in the online class. Figure 10 shows the amount of time students spend studying the subject they have covered after the end of the class ODL. 46 students spent 1 to 2 hours to study, while 4 students took 3 to 4 hours. Because of the effect of study tiredness, most students spend less time studying after class. 1 student and 2 other students took 5 to 6 hours each and never revised after class respectively. Mean of this grouped data is 1.67, means that on the average, each student spent an average time of 4.25 hours to study after ODL classes. Median of 13.75 means that after ODL classes, 15% of students spend less than 13.75 hours and 15% spend more than 13.75 hours to study. This means that most students spend 1.54 hours to study after ODL classes. The square deviation of each hours from the mean is 0.67 units square, and the hours spent by each student to study after ODL class differs from the mean by 0.82 hours. Lastly, shape of distribution for this data is skewed to the right.
First, I will explain the bar chart for question 11. The figure shows the percentage of internet access of the student during ODL classes. There are only 2 respondents with poor internet access and 5 respondents have excellent internet access during ODL. Next, there are 21 respondents with good internet access. Meanwhile, most of the respondents have average internet access during ODL, which are 28 respondents. To conclude, the majority of the students have average internet access during the ODL classes. Second is the pie chart for question 12. The figure shows the percentage of whether the respondents' environmental condition during ODL is conducive or not. 2 of the respondents they agree, which means their environmental condition was not conducive. Meanwhile, only 1 respondent agrees with this question, which means their environmental condition was conducive during classes. Most of the respondents, which are 32 respondents, agree with the question. However, there are 21 respondents not sure whether their environmental condition are conducive or not during ODL classes. To conclude, the majority of the respondents agree with the question, which means they have a conducive environmental condition to study during ODL classes. Next is the pie chart for question 13. The figure shows that 70% of the respondents agree that they can use platforms like Google Meet, Google Classroom, WebEx, UiTM, and others well. Meanwhile, 9% of them are not sure whether they can use it well. 20% of the respondents can use all the platform well since they are strongly agree with the question, and there are none of the students that disagrees with the question since the number shows 0%. To conclude, 70% of the respondents agree with the question. The next one is the bar chart for question 14. The figure shows that no one disagrees with the question of whether respondents can use digital technology such as computers, smartphones, tablets, and other easily, since the number is 0%. Only 3.6%, which are 2 students, of the respondents are not sure whether they can use it well. Moreover, 21.4%, which are 12 students, strongly agree with this question, and 75%, which are 42 students, of them agree with the question. To conclude, the majority of the respondents agree that they can use digital technology well for ODL classes. In this slide, I will explain about the bar chart of question 15 and the pie chart of question 16. The figures for question 15 shows that 5.4%, which are 3 students, disagree with this question, which means it is hard for them to interact with their lecturers and classmates during ODL. 30.4%, which are 17 students, are not sure about this, and only 8.9%, which are 5 students, strongly agree about this matter. So the majority of the respondents choose to agree with this percentage, so the percentage of them is 55.4%, which are 31 students. Then the figure for question 16 shows how respondents feel about ODL. 3.6%, which are 2 students, do not have a good feeling about ODL. Meanwhile, 10.7%, which are 6 students, feel excellent about ODL. 37.5%, which are 21 students, of the respondents feel that ODL is average. And lastly, about half of the respondents, 48.2%, which are 27 students, have a good feeling about ODL classes so far. Now I will explain about the pie chart of question 17. It shows whether respondents have been able to get used to ODL classes. From the figure, only 1% disagrees and 9 people are still not sure whether they have to get used to the ODL classes. Besides that, 12 students strongly agree with this question because they had already gotten used to the ODL. Lastly, about 34 students agree with this question and have the highest percentage among other responses. For question 18, the bar chart shows whether respondents understand the teaching techniques presented by the lecturers. Most of them agree with this question since the percentage is 46.4%, which are 26 students. The least percentage respond is disagree, which is 5.4%, which are 3 students. This means they find it hard to understand the teaching techniques presented by the lecturer. 41.1%, which are 23 students, not sure about this question. And 7.1%, which are 4 students, are strongly agreed with the question, since they understand the teaching techniques presented by the lecturers during ODL classes. The second last one is question 19. The bar chart shows that the learning materials obtained are sufficient for respondents to use as a reference during ODL. Most of the respondents agree about this matter. The highest percentage for this question is 67.9%, which are 38 students. 19.6%, which are 11 students of the respondents, strongly agree about this. Meanwhile, 3.6%, which are only 2 students, disagree, and the other is 8.9%, which are 5 students, are not sure whether the materials are sufficient for them or not. And the last one is question 20. The bar chart shows that the learning materials obtained are sufficient for respondents to use as a reference during ODL. Most of the respondents agree about this matter. The highest percentage for this question is 67.9%, which are 38 students. 19.6%, which are 11 students of the respondents, strongly agree about this. Meanwhile, 3.6%, which are 11 students, of the respondents, strongly agree, and the other is 8.9%, which are 5 students, are not sure whether the materials are sufficient for them or not. The pie chart shows whether respondents can practice things they have learned well during ODL. None of them disagree with this question. Only 10.7%, which are 6 students, strongly agree with this question. Meanwhile, 21.4%, which are 12 students, are not sure whether they can practice things well. In addition, the highest percentage for this question is 67.9%, which are 38 students, who agree that they can practice things they have learned well after classes during ODL.
So, as the conclusion, after completing this assignment, we have found that the student has made a good preparation during ODL. In addition, we also found that the students are now technology friendly because they know and can access all digital platforms and technologies well. The interaction between the student and the lecturer also very good. Overall, online distance learning is effective among the student. However, we strongly believe that students should focus more on their study rather than wasting their time on trivial things. During this ODL, it is recommended that students divide and use time wisely in managing their assignment. Then, students should make prior planning in the lesson so that they do not leave behind and always catch up on the lesson even if students have other things to do at home or in campus.